Getting our day going. Okay. Let's make sure that we turn off our notifications so I don't keep getting ding, ding, dinged. Hello, and welcome back to another Astro Chat and Chill Sesh with your girl, Mama Capricorn. It is Tuesday, January 31st. It is the last day of the month, and it is Tuesday, of course, like I just said, and that is the day of Mars. This is something that I realize I haven't actually talked about in quite a while, and this is something I was mentioning to my current mastermind, which is a little bit like in a state of flux. I'm in a kind of transitionary phase right now where I'm reworking that program before I reopen it to the public. But the people who are in there now, they're starting to see the transitions and the effects. And one of the things that was brought up is like some of the people, initially who joined, maybe they didn't, I had someone say, like, I'm not really into astrology because I've been helping people with like business strategy and personal branding and all kinds of stuff like that, and I've just been using like astrology kind of like on the sly. And that's really just been for like a couple of years. I'm not going to go into all of this right now, but I really distanced myself for a couple of years from anything even remotely like esoteric or like woo. I just needed I needed a pause. I needed to like come back to my center and like self-reflect, whatever, another story for another day. But when I had mentioned in my mastermind, or really had just like started implementing these new things, like these new events, or just like I renamed the Discord. It used to be named after what the mastermind is named currently, which that'll be changing too. But it had initially had a different name, and then I changed it to Mama Capricorn's Cosmic Guidance Club. And so I'd had a couple of questions about, is this place still for me, even if I don't use astrology, or even if I don't really I'm not interested in astrology. And to that, I say, you don't have to be interested in astrology to receive the benefits, right, of having the awareness of what's going on right now. You don't need to become an astrologer. That's my job. And that's why especially if I'm like in a session with you, or, when you're in my groups and I get to know you a little bit better, I'm talking to you as a person. I get to know whether or not you're someone who's like gonna astro nerd out with me, and you want to like get all of that information and hear like the astro talk jargon of it all. And then some people really don't. Some people like don't care, just skip that part and give me like the juicy stuff, give me the answers inside, give me the direction, whatever. And so for them, I use the analogy of like being a doctor in triage. I use your chart so that it can help me to ask better questions, to really help you get to like the root of the point or the problem, or the solution, just easier and faster. But that doesn't necessarily like, I don't have to, just like, I'm not going to understand a doctor if they're reading like stuff off of my chart. If I were to pick up my chart, in a doctor's office and try to read it, it's not going to make sense to me. I don't know that language. So I recognize that that's also something, for some people that's more helpful for them. But all of that's to say, I've been using astrology, even though I haven't been like super public about it, for a couple of years. And this is like me saying this now. It's such a trip because this is what I was known for many, many, many years. And that just goes to show the power of like branding. Like you can rebrand yourself at any time and you can just completely be known for something else. But whether I was out there talking about it or not, whether it was like part of my behind the scenes, approach or my behind the scenes like strategy, astrology is like the underlying thing that helps me to plan everything. Whether it's like personal like events, whether it is like professional, like there are different things as a business owner. I don't do the same thing every single day. Sometimes I do, but like today is a super client heavy day. I've got like 4 sessions after this today, which is not a typical day for me. So when I have a day where I have like 4 sessions, I'm not going to be, other than my live stream, I'm not going to be out here like posting all day in my Instagram stories or like spending a ton of time on Facebook. I'm going to be in client sessions and I'm going to be like taking notes and I'm going to be resting and I'm going to be, doing in the what I call the production pillar, right, of my business. Whereas, there are other days where I'm doing more of like marketing stuff. I'm recording podcast episodes or I am, spending time in my Discord, nurturing my community. So there's all sorts of different things that I do. And a lot of how I plan that, like what I'm going to do on what days I'm available for what, really all comes down to the astrology of it all. Sometimes it's like, there's going to be a full moon. Sometimes it's about the new moon. Sometimes it's about the sun changing signs. And sometimes it is as simple as just looking at what is the day of the week, right? So as I mentioned, today being Tuesday, today is the day of Mars. And so Mars is a day for motivation, for initiation, for getting out there, taking action, right? And people are like, this is like a revelation to a lot of people who are English speakers. But if you speak Spanish, if you speak French, there are many other languages that like almost directly reflect the astrological days of the week. And even in English, we've got Saturday. What do you think that is? Okay. Saturday, Sunday. So Monday is Moon Day, so that is, right, ruled by the moon, ruled by Cancer. Tuesday we've got Mars. Wednesday is Mercury, right? I know in French it's mercredi. Did I do that right? Is that just like, it's not a shape that we make with our throat very often in English. But Wednesday is Mercury, so it's a day of information. That's a day where you'll generally find me hosting a Q&A in my group programs or teaching a class or, right, something that is going to be like answering questions, like a delivery of information. Then we've got Thursday. Thursday is the day of Jupiter, so this is a super expansive day. You'll notice that Jupiter on Jupiter days, but on Thursdays are generally days where I will, if I've got a new program I'm going to launch, or if I've got like a sale I want to run or something like that, I'll usually aim for a Thursday. It's anything like that, just because it's a really exciting day, it's an expansive day, it's a day filled with growth, so it's a day that I very much enjoy. Then we have Friday. Friday is ruled by Venus, so generally speaking, you're going to be doing, because Venus, right, has the duality of the signs, right? Because Venus is both the ruler of Taurus, which is that second house, material, self-love, self-worth kind of love and affection. And then there is the Venus that is in Libra, right? Which is the 7th house. That is all about fairness, equality, mutually beneficial relationships, creating peace and harmony and things like that, right? So this is why Venus yes, it's associated with like attraction and relationships and things like that, but it's also very much associated with, beauty and art and money, right? And so Fridays are really great days to connect with people, whether that's like just intentionally creating posts so that you are having that back and forth, the call to action in your stories or in your posts. Why I'm talking like I'm just talking to business people. And maybe it's just because I'm like reflecting my own behavior, but I definitely want you to know that like this can be helpful in so many different areas of your life. Like, so Friday, if Friday is a great day to connect with people, whether it's, in your business or not. And I guess the reason that I was gravitating toward that is because it's a great day to do, they call follow-up Fridays, right? So people that maybe you'd like to have a follow-up on a sales conversation with, see if it's time to like seal the deal, or, things like that. Or even just like following up like on your finances and going through and making sure that invoices are paid, making sure that, people are subscribed to the things that they're supposed to be, et cetera, et cetera. Friday is a day that I will send out my emails to my list, because it is that day of connection, and I really like connecting with them at the end of the week and kind of just like being that reliable like point of like love and touch. And then of course Saturday is Saturn. And so I think it's so interesting. I don't know, whatever, but like actually now that I'm like thinking more critically about it. So I remember in high school, one of my favorite teachers, he was so smart, such a genius. He was like this old dude. And everybody was really afraid of him. But when you took a class with him, you realize he was just like this big old softy, and he was the greatest. Like rest in peace, Mr. Job. But he talked about how he was like on his fourth wife, or like his fifth wife was his parrot. He had this parrot. I'm going off on a tangent. Why did I bring up Mr. Job? There was a reason, I promise. I'm going to circle back to it. It's going to happen for me. Oh, because he was the first Seventh-day Adventist that I knew. I was so interested in, and I still am, and maybe this is the ninth house Mercury of it all, but I've always been so interested in philosophy and religion, and just the way that different people think about existence and like the beyond and the soul. And I wasn't raised in any religion, though. Actually, this would be a really good time to show you my chart. So we've got the same thing going on today that we did yesterday. So let's just pop down so that I can keep talking about this thing that I'm talking about. So yeah, I've always just been kind of this little weirdo, if I could be honest, who would just walk up to people. I have vivid memories of doing this, walking up to people in like my first grade, second grade class and asking them, like, what religion are you? And just like such a weird thing to ask somebody, especially if you were not raised in a religion, which I was not. Like, even I have a vivid memory of, I was like 12 years old, and this is like, I guess, sidebar, like I was 12 years old, and I was like going to church with a friend of mine, and they were going to be doing a baptism, and I'd never been baptized before, and I was so excited, and I asked my parents if I could go, and they said sure, but that they were not interested in coming with me, and so they stayed home and they watched football while I went and had this really cool like spiritual experience. And like, I definitely do not self-identify as a Christian, although I will say, outside of like the organization, right, or like the the organized religion, Jesus seemed pretty cool. Got some pretty cool things to say if he was an actual dude. But anyway, I digress. So Mr. Job was the first Seventh-day Adventist that I'd ever met, and this Jupiter in the 12th house is also very indicative of my like desire to spiritually grow, North Node and Pisces, right? So we can see a lot of those reasons here. That's why I pulled this up. But from what Mr. Job had said, like their weekdays were different, right? As a Seventh-day Adventist, it was like Monday was the start of the week, not Sunday. And so it was Saturday that they took the day off, I believe. And I could be totally wrong. If you're watching this or you're listening to this and you're like, girl, that is not what a Seventh-day Adventist is, please feel free to like type into the chat and totally correct me. But regardless, this was a long ass tangent to say that I do think it's really funny that we've got Saturday, which is ruled by Saturn, which is our like ruler of Capricorn, right? Foundations, putting in the work. And for that to be a weekend day just feels like weird to me. I feel like a better weekend, I don't know, call me crazy. And this is why I've set up my weeks like this. My weekend is generally Sunday, Monday. At least I try to make it like that. Sometimes it gets flip-flopped and I'll end up taking kind of a split weekend, being off on Saturday and then off on Monday, or at least my version of being off with all this fucking Capricorn energy, like whatever. But yeah, it's just not a day, like it is a day, like Saturday is a day where you want to work on stuff. It's a day where you want to like get things done. And like socially, societally, I know that that's not the case. Like people are so excited to have the reprieve because they've been hustling their asses off all week long. But that like is all about alignment too. I don't know. I do not believe that like the people in charge or whatever we want to call them are ignorant to astrology, and in fact I believe that they know it and they use it. It was JP Morgan, right? The guy, right? Like we know JP Morgan Chase, but it was JP Morgan who said millionaires don't have astrologers, billionaires do. And I do think that there are like people in charge, people who like know what they're doing, who have like they try to engineer things on purpose against the grain, because it's like swimming upstream. You're exerting so much more energy than is necessary if things were allowed to be in a state of flow. And ultimately, that's what I do with people. Like, that is my whole goal with people. I am not interested in helping anyone achieve, like, one specific goal. And that's so against, like, everything that marketing and sales tells you. Like, it is everything against what branding tells you. And, like, I keep having I keep wrestling with myself over this because I know that it is harder, or that, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say it like that. Let me try and rephrase it. Our words are powerful. The way that we say things, the way that we phrase things, the way that we think things makes a huge difference in the way that we perceive everything around us. So let me try this again. I have learned the marketing industry, yeah, there we go, okay. The marketing industry, the marketing, branding, sales industry tells you that in order for you to make sales, in order for you to be successful, there's that word again, what is successful? In order for you to make sales in your business and regular, sustainable sales, that you need to be specific. Now, I definitely do agree that we need to be specific about what's available, right? And not just from a state change, as in, like, I want you to be happy. Of course you do. But we could do that, in a 5-minute, like, ecstatic dance. Like, we could change your state. We can use breath work. We can use yoga. We can use, high energy dance. I have lots of tools in my wheelhouse, right? I've got lots of things that I have like to pull out when the time is necessary, like when you need that tool, right? Astrology, of course, being the primary one. But that's not a transformation. That's not something that even you can sell, right? Like, you cannot sell happiness, because it's entirely subjective. And that's also how you're going to end up having like people, like some people are going to be happy with the experience and some people are not. It's because like there's no recognition or no like true like definition or foundation of like what it is that you're supposed to be doing here. So that's where I have been, struggling. Maybe not like so much over the last like couple of weeks. I feel like it's just finally like, and I have had a lot of really excellent transits to help me out with that. So like that's solid. But yeah, I'm not interested anymore in helping with only business, right? I don't think that I could ever not help people with business, because how many times have I brought up marketing, sales, business, branding, something to that effect, in the last 20 minutes. It is in my DNA. It is the Capricorn in the Mama Capricorn. But that said, it is not necessarily the only thing that is available here, right? And so to be clear, right, what it is that is available here is not just, happiness, fulfillment, whatever, but this is the ability to effectively communicate your thoughts, to develop a better relationship to your emotions and to your emotional expression, to be able to feel like you are more in a state of flow, right? No more of that like swimming upstream because this is what society says, like, okay, here's what you're supposed to do Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day, the traditional route. That is okay for some people. Some people work very well in that way, but that's not the case for all of us. And even like that's not the case for all of us in terms of like how the year works, right? Like you have times of the year where you're on, you have times of the year where your body and everything, you're just like you're begging to rest. And whether that aligns with what society says is like a good time for you to take a rest, and like LOL JK, right? Like fucking the man is ever going to tell you that it's a good time to, yeah, sure, you can take a rest. No. You have to like define those boundaries. You have to recognize, okay, well, what is flow state for me? What does that actually look like? And how am I going to not only define those standards, but how am I going to start like embodying them and communicating them to the people around me and integrating that into my life, right? And it doesn't have to be a super shocking moment, right? It doesn't have to be this like intense Scorpio energy of like, we're just gonna, cocoon and goo and burst forth like all in, one swift motion. That is not how transformation works. And that's also something that I think is a huge misconception about using astrology, or people who go to astrologers even, is like, just because, and even not just astrologers, right? But all of the things that we can do with astrology, like relationship guidance, relationship support, right? Whether that is with your partners, with your children, with your business besties, or, whoever. But it can also help, in your career trajectory, figuring out what you want to do with your life, figuring out how exactly you want to go about that. There's so many things that we can actually do with this tool, but it's not just the awareness. It's not just sitting down one time with an astrologer, or not just sitting down one time with somebody and saying to myself, okay, well, I've got a North Node in the 10th house, and I've got my Chiron in the 2nd house. I've got all of this 8th house Capricorn stuff. So definitely I am like an extroverted communicator, but need a lot of downtime for myself. and that my wounding is going to be in the area of self-worth and finances. And so that's obviously going to be, as I grow, something that I'm going to be attracting into my life. Okay, like I'm going to be able to help people with that. So I can know all of that, but knowing all of that, having that recognition, that's not a transformation. That hasn't actually like taken effect in my life. And that is where like the continued support and the continued awareness, not just of like who you are, but what's going on out there and how that interacts with you, right? How that actually changes things for you. This is where things get so nuanced. You know, I mentioned earlier that like I had been kind of going through this like this point where I was feeling really like fluid and like transitionary, and I'm still sort of like I'm finishing that up now, but I'm feeling so much more like grounded and confident, and the negative self-talk is starting to diminish. Starting to just be able to like breathe in the integration of this transition now, whereas before I was still very anxious and very much like, oh my god, like what am I gonna do, like what are people gonna think, like ugh. And things were still very foggy and very gray. But now I've got, you know, Mercury is conjunct my sun moon right now. I've got Saturn conjunct my midheaven. I've got Venus conjunct my north node. I've got this conjunction that's forming over here, and that's in my 11th house. And this is, you know, all about exploring and growing my impact in the community, which is so interesting because in the next month or so, which is when this transit happens, I will be starting my yoga teacher training. And so there's just so much that is astrologically aligned, and it's not a coincidence for me. I continue to use the analogy of this being a weather forecast. Like that is what this is. Just because I say there is a chance of showers does not mean, oh my gosh, it's gonna pour and I should just stay inside and expect rain all day. But what it does mean is that like maybe you should be prepared, right? Maybe you can plan around it. Maybe you can give yourself a little bit of extra time, a little bit of extra grace when things like that pop up. That's the whole point of this, right? It's not just about like grounding yourself in your direction and helping you to figure yourself out, but it's also helping you to more seamlessly and gracefully become that next version of yourself that you want to be, and to like climb that mountain that you want to climb without it being a chore, without it being backbreaking, without it feeling so scary, without feeling like you just like, am I on the right track? Do I know what I'm doing? Am I in alignment? That's what this is really all for. Like I continue to be not surprised, but completely delighted when I see things astrologically like coming to fruition that I have felt were coming. And I do believe that this is just like part of the intuitive practice of not just like looking at the astrology, and this is the big one, y'all. Not just looking at it for like what you think the answers are, or like looking at it for like, do not come to me, open an astrology app, go to any other astrologer with the intention or expectation that the answers to what you want, what you need, what you, right, are outside of you in any way. Like, no. Everything here is a confirmation of what your soul already knows. And like your brain and your thoughts, right? Like your logic driven self, your like earth-based self that has been conditioned out of listening to that voice, out of listening to that feeling. That's the part that gets to like be told to shut the fuck up when you when you come to an astrology reading, or when you come work with an astrologer, or when you open that astrology app and you see confirmation of what you already know is true. Okay? If this is information that surprises you, takes you out, depresses you, y'all, I cannot. If you open an app, if you come to an astrologer and they are disempowering or like telling you definitively that something bad is going to happen, you need to put that down, delete that app, delete that person, leave the session, get the fuck away from that person, get away from that app, because what that is doing is this is just right from the marketing and sales perspective, like just to give you a recognition of what is actually happening here. They're trying to make you feel fear. They're trying to make you feel pain, because the greater your fear, the greater your pain, the more you're going to find that you rely on them and that information. And that's manipulative and it's garbage and fuck them. And that is a big part of the reason that I'm out here too. Because I believe that there is so much power here. There is so much to learn about yourself. There's so much healing. There's so much awareness available here. There's so much opportunity and potential to tap into flow state. And I'm not going to just let people, if I can help it, be misguided or be like taken off of their path or intentionally manipulated so that other people can gain from you. And that they can create an unhealthy codependence with you. Like, fuck that. Ugh. I get so fired up. And as Saturn enters Pisces next month, I'm brimming. I'm so excited. Saturn entering Pisces is, we're going to see so many of those documentaries, right? The Teal Swan one that came out, and there was another one that came out recently. It was on Netflix. It was called like Orgasm Inc. And it was something about like orgasmic manifestation, right? I know that was like so trendy a few years ago. There was just like everybody and their mom was talking about it and was now like teaching it to people. It was like the new coaching thing, right? And I mean, yeah, who doesn't want to feel good? Doesn't that sound great? But apparently, like, not so much. Like, it was also like incredibly manipulative and abusive, which anything organized, I feel at this point, it's just like, was it George Carlin said, like, the individual, like, I love people, but when they come together, like, I hate that. Like, I hate groups of people. And I don't hate people, but like groups of people, like when you get, you know, like structures and like, and coming from a Capricorn, just, it's not good. Like, just, there will always be like power imbalances. It's like, you know, the freshman who grows into the, you know, who is like teased and grows into the senior, and like, instead of being compassionate toward the freshman who's lost now, they misdirect them and tease them too, because now they get to be the big bad senior on campus. And it's like, there's always, you know, if you're going to look at things like that, like, you know, from the subjective, like societal material standpoint, like there's always going to be someone who is an elder to you. Like, no, like we all have something, we're all here on purpose. We all have something to contribute to the whole. No one is better than another person. I'm not better than you. You're not better than me. People who are famous or who have a lot of money are not better than me. People who know a lot are not better than me. People who know less than me are not better than me. I'm not better than them, right? Like, there's just, we are all here and have our contribution to give to the world. And that also is something that I love about astrology. But as Saturn moves into Pisces, we're going to start seeing more and more and more of these, like, people who are out for themselves, these people who are intentionally manipulating people, and especially within the spiritual communities, and even, like, I would say, like the world of psychedelics. Like, we're going to see a huge explosion. I have a TikTok about this from like 2020, that this year, you know, starting March 2023 and beyond, we're really going to start seeing, you know, this explosion of psychedelics, and it's everywhere right now. Like, we're already starting to see it. And that's just like the Saturn and Pisces of it all. But I would encourage you, like, as someone who's very into psychedelics, like super pro psychedelic experimentation, is to be, right, set and setting are everything, to be very careful about who and where, and why, what your intention is, before like allowing your mind to be altered in any way, shape, or form. So can y'all hear this? There is like some kind of drilling or something that's going on in my building, so that's really cool. It's like really like just taking me out too. I'm having a very hard time like talking and concentrating. So thank you so much for being here with me while I sit here and try to block out oh, you know what this is a great time for? Let me show y'all these. I don't know how many people are out here with a similar, oh, I don't have them on me. I would have to go in the other room. Cool. I've got those little like earplug things, right, for moments like this, that they're not like earplugs, but I've got two sets of them. One of them is like more powerful or like more of a muffler for the big like raves and festivals that I go to. But then I also have another pair, like when you see it advertised, they're called Loop earplugs. This is not sponsored by Loop earplugs, but y'all should still go get them. But when I see the advertising for them, they're like, great for like lawn mowing or like snoring or parenting, and I'm like, oh shit, like they're really calling me out, because these are definitely all the things that like I will be like driven up a wall. Like I'm the kind of, like if my boyfriend is eating, I have to go to the other room. Like I can't listen to you swallow and chew your food. It's just the most disgusting thing in the world to me. Anyway, so we love a drill going on wherever the hell it's happening in my building. Okay, so back to the astrology of it all. Okay, so I was watching this documentary yesterday about, right, like I said earlier, I have a fascination with religions, with philosophy, with different cultures, just the way that people believe about things. And I'm especially like fascinated by the concept of like cults, right? And especially now because like, I was like in one. And it's, you hear it over and over when you watch these, about Scientology or about whatever. And they say like intelligent people get pulled into these groups all the time, or into these like thought groups, whatever. And you don't realize it. You can see it in other groups. There's this very famous, like cult expert. His name is Steve Hassan. And, he talks about when he was in a cult and he was in the Moonies, and how he was like, learning how to use like weapons, and was like ready to like kill people for his like God or whatever, for the, what was it? I can't remember what his name was. But anyway, he was like ready to like lay down his life and murder people for his, religion, for his like cult that he was in. While at the same time being very like critical of other groups and of other religions, and being very like, it's very easy for them to say like, oh, well, that's easy. How can you think that? You believe that? And it's one of those things that you don't know is happening until you're in it. And I feel that a lot of people are going to be waking up to that over the next few years. So, I was watching this documentary yesterday about the FLDS, right? The Fundamentalist Latter-day Saints. And these are the ones that, are the, it's like a small sect of the Latter-day Saints. It's not like all Mormons. But there is this sect that was run by, what was his name? Oh man, I can't remember now. I was just watching it yesterday. I think I block his name out because he's such a fucking creep. Oh my God, I like hear his voice in my head. Oh, it's so gross. What a creep. He talked like, actually, in hindsight, like the person who ran the cult that I was into. If you hear people talking in a slow and monotonous tone, this is the trance voice, and they are intentionally shutting off your ability to cognitively, yeah, it's fucking terrible. Anyway, but so I was watching this yesterday, and this guy was on the run, right, from the federal government, for horrible crimes, right, relating to children. That was the last time that Saturn was in Pisces. Saturn is about to enter Pisces like in a month. We're talking like the first week of March, I think. David Miscavige, the leader of Scientology, is on the run from the federal government for gross child stuff. Y'all, like, should we go back further? I would love to. Maybe I'll come back tomorrow and talk about that a little bit. Like, Saturn in Pisces from the 60s? Right? See what cult leaders were exposed at that time? It comes in waves. Like, people talk about time is cyclical, and it sure the hell is. When you look at Pluto, it's, most astrologers who like really know what they're talking about. I love astrology history. Like, I seriously have like note cards here from me nerding out about Saturn and Pisces. Oh, here, right? So there's like some notes that I'd taken about right from March 64 to 67. So that was I said in the 60s. So, right, March 1964, March 1967, I do stuff like that all the time. Like, just take little notes like that, because it's those patterns. It's those patterns that make really all the difference. Like, in fact, we can look at these other, right? Like, I was looking at this earlier. So this is on Astro. These are like transit calculators, right? So it gets a little like, if you're not super astro nerdy, like this might be like very much like, I don't understand why we'd be doing this kind of over your head, but let me try and show you. Okay, so I was looking at these, right? So Chiron, all major to, let's say, just all planets for now. And let's go back to like, 89, because that's my birth year. Right, and so what this is going to do is it's going to show me all the times that Chiron had some kind of major aspect to one of my natal planets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that, right, just take it down a notch, right, just my planets up to Saturn, right? Those are what we would call like the traditional planets, the ones that are visible. And then I go through here and I just like look at different patterns, like what was going on in my life at that time. This is one of the ones I was looking at earlier, because I'm going to have, it's like Chiron squaring my sun like really soon, like this year. Oh yeah. Yeah, so Chiron will square my sun and moon from May until March of next year. And I think, right, if I am, right, so this is in my 11th house. I have not had a square before. No, I have had a square before. Let me go back. I think it was in 94, 96, something like that. 96, right? But that's the only square that I've ever had. Right, so none between 2003 and 2013, none between, so this is what I'm talking about, right? So I haven't had any since then. So these are the kinds of things that are like really interesting to kind of note. There's this one, like I'm getting like really morbid now, and like this is not how I would encourage you to, or like anyone to use astrology, if I'm being honest, but this was when my dad died. And my dad was like my hero. He was like everything to me. And of course, my son is in Capricorn, right? Which Capricorn is like the sign of the father, like the provider, okay? And it's in my 8th house. And so like when I saw that, I was kind of like, And yes, I do believe that astrology can coincide with natural disasters. This is where I get like really like iffy on how much I, feel like it's like, as an astrologer, like I feel that it is my responsibility to, it's like having good bedside manner. You know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna just like drop a fucking bomb on your patient and be like, hey, so there's no hope for you and everything is terrible, like money please, like that's just, I'm just not gonna do that. But like there are definitely times where I have like predicted things happening, specifically like COVID. I was just talking about this morning, and it was one of the first things that I like almost directly predicted, and was so like, it was, I was so resistant to saying things like, I can predict the future using astrology. But after it was like several times, so it was like December 2019 when I held my annual, Astro strategy party, I told my students at that time that when we had Saturn move into Aquarius in March, that the focus for the next few years was going to be on the health and wellness of the individual for the benefit of the collective whole, and that we were going to see a surge in people working from home. And then literally, like, no shit, y'all, lockdown happened the week Saturn went into Aquarius. Like, what the fuck? Okay. I also predicted the crypto NFT crash last May. I knew it was going to happen, and I knew it was going to happen in May. Like, So, I'm still like really apprehensive to say like what I think is going to happen, other than me saying that I do think that that miscavige will be caught, that we will see more of that. Those two things I know, that psychedelics will be more available for public consumption. That I know. I don't really want to like go any deeper than that right now, because I still like to watch how things, right? It's like there's so much potential. I want to see it contextualized a little bit more. I'm starting to have thoughts about what might happen in June, but I still feel like it could really go either way. I do know it's going to have something to do with financial structures though. So we're going to keep our eyes out for that. But I also just like really like to encourage the people who are like listening to, the astrology of now. Like, we are in a huge moment of change. Like, next month is going to be insane. I say next month because I'm already thinking about being in February, because I've been working on the February horoscopes. I mean March. March is going to be bananas. It's going to be a huge like transitionary moment. And we're also, right, same thing we're going to feel, but in a different way, in June. And so like this year in general is just like a very big time of transition. Like, we have like an eclipse like set closing, we're opening a new one, we're opening a new Pluto era, we're opening a new Saturn transit. There's so much happening. So all of that is to say, I see these as really, if you are someone who is like crypto bro, like capitalist, like hustler, like corporate guy, these next few years probably are not going to be fun for you. If you are like spiritual, creative, like power to the people, thinking about the future, like wanting to improve society, wanting to see innovation, especially when we're talking about like transportation, and like technology, like communications. Like, I've been really, really like kind of playfully curious about what's going to happen over the next like 20 years while Pluto is in Aquarius. And yes, you probably should tip him off. For example, the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, it was the invention of the guillotine, right? It's very power to the people kind of energy. But I was looking at the last couple of transits for Pluto being in air signs, right? And it was like, do I have the notes for that one? I think that one was the one I was trying to show you. Yes. Okay. So when Pluto was in Gemini, and I was watching this like documentary about Hollywood and like filmmaking or something, and that is why I like went off on this tangent. But when Pluto was in Gemini, this was when the transcontinental telegraph was invented. This was the commercial telephone, the discovery of radio waves, the first films. Okay, Pluto in Gemini, of course, is all about like communicating thoughts, communicating ideas, like person-to-person communication. Okay, when Pluto was in Libra, okay, so this was like in the like 80s, right, 70s, like right, 80s, the invention of the internet. What's going to happen with Pluto and Aquarius? It's the most innovative and technologically like advanced of all of the air signs. Like, I don't want to be like, right? Like really, you know, but I know people are thinking about space travel. Can we not? Can we fix the fucking planet first? Can we like focus? Come on. Or like goodbye, like fly to Mars and get the fuck out of here. Okay. I'm fine with either. But I feel like there could be like super advances in technology, as in like reducing or eliminating our reliance on oil and fossil fuels, and like hopefully making transportation and the communication of ideas faster and cleaner. I'm hoping for like an energy revolution. That said, the era that we're in, you know, it's like Pluto doesn't exist in a vacuum. Saturn being in Pisces now, right? We're going to have an Aries transit and then Taurus. And this is me going like way too far in the future, but there's like something here that I feel like there's like a return to earth, like a return to like farming. I don't know how else to say it, but like a return to like small batch stuff. Like it's just not sustainable for us to operate the way that we have been in the world unless we completely change the way that transportation is done. Right? So it's like one or the other, or both, which would be great. So, as far as like historical, you know, whatever astrology goes, this is what I'm talking about, y'all. Like, I love just nerding out, looking at patterns and seeing how we can stay adaptable and how we can like flow with the changes that are to come. Like, I was already working at home, and like I had already been pretty well established like before COVID, but because I was able, like I saw it coming, like I saw more people coming to work at home, I was like laying the groundwork for that. And then by the time it actually like happened, I was teaching people how to use astrology and how to operate better within their homes, right? Like at that point in time, I was teaching people like, okay, bring me your chart, bring me your, you know, partner's chart, bring me your kid's chart, because now, you know, you're trying to accomplish the same work or you're trying to do the same things, but you've got all these people around you, all this excess energy, like kind of not fucking with you, but like changing the way that you have to get this done. And so that was really where I ended up like transitioning for that year, because that's what people needed, and I saw it coming, right? And that's literally what I'm doing right now. Like I see what's coming, and I see that, you know, truly like there's going to be less of a relevance or importance on, I want to hit that whatever dollar amount. Like it's not about like just the material. And even like if it is, it's like really readjusting like what your definition of success, of comfort, of a rich and wealthy life actually looks, sounds, and feels like. Because so many people, I mean, you've seen the articles, right? People are like COVID, being at home, the lockdown, like all of that, really showed people like what matters to them and what's important. Like they don't want to go back to the office. They don't want to do that shit because fuck that. Like they can't believe that they lived their life this long doing that already. And we're going to see a lot more of that. We're going to see a lot more people who are like, I'm going to sell my house and go live in a van, like van life, right? Like I'm going to go like whatever. And because I know that that's coming, right? I want to be here to support those people, right? Because again, like to go back to it at the beginning, like it's not like astrology is a tool. It's what do you want to do with it? How you want to understand yourself better and you want to understand what's going on in the world better, but like what's your actual goal? You're working on moving to an eco village in Costa Rica. Let me tell you about how awesome that was for me back in 2011, 2012, when I was like, I'm done with society. And I packed a backpack and I went and I lived in a tent on a farm in Hawaii and did that for like a year and just like lived like with the land, and I sunbathed with my baby goat named Juno because I named her Juno. Yeah, just like you did a student exchange there. I love that. I was on the Big Island. Were you on the Big Island also? Because they do the, what's it called? It starts with a Y, right? I can't remember. YWAM, right? I had a friend. I lived on the farm. Oh, you were on Oahu. Oh, fun. Oh, that's really cool. Oh, you know what would be like so weird is if you knew a friend of mine that I used to work with, because she like moved to Oahu to do like marine research. Her name's Ashley. Anyway, oh no, actually it was torture. One of the most life-changing things you've ever done. I can imagine. Hawaii is a life-changing place. I didn't know until I was there, but it's like one of those like vortex like spots, like how like Joshua Tree or whatever is, or like Sedona or something, right? I don't know. That's not right my zone of genius or like my knowledge base or whatever. But I know that Hawaii is one of those places that like it changes you forever. And if your energy sucks, it'll spit you out faster than you could get there. But if you go there with like aloha and like good karma, like good energy, like I was so taken care of when I was there. Like I just absolutely, it was like, I named my daughter Mana. And that's right, the Hawaiian word for like spiritual power and like spiritual strength. Yeah, it just like definitely left like that was like one of the first places that I really found myself. Maybe tomorrow I'll talk about profections a little bit. It's like such a like niche, like kind of astro nerdy sort of topic or whatever, but I'm in an 11th house year now. Like I just turned 34 at the beginning of the month. And so next year will be my 12th house year, another 12th house year. And my last 12th house year was the year I spent in Hawaii. It was like one of the best years of my life. So I'm already like, I'm trying not to like be that guy or whatever. But I'm just like so looking forward to next year already. Are we the same age? I love that. Hello, Saturn Stellium Jen. All right, well, listen, y'all, I have got a day ahead of me. We've got like 4 more sessions, and then I still want to finish the rising sign horoscopes for the rest of the month. If you're subscribed to my podcast, tomorrow, the February like overview horoscope drops. It's already scheduled and everything, so if you're subscribed, you'll get that like in your feed first thing in the morning, and if you're not, you can go subscribe. So yeah, maybe I'll write this down. Perfections tomorrow. Perfections. And I hope that you all have a wonderful day. Enjoy that day of the moon in Gemini. I'm certainly going to need that for me to do all the talking I'm going to do today. And if this is not right, if you're like, ugh, like this is not a great moon day for me, just go rest, take it easy, and listen to yourself. You know all the answers already. And I will see y'all tomorrow. Thanks for hanging. Bye.